January is a planetary month. Mars gets big, Mars gets occulted, then Mars gets outshined by Venus and Saturn. Plus, we have a short little meteor shower coming as well. Hi everybody, I'm the Last Minute Astronomer, bringing astronomy to normies and nerds with little time to spare. We'll start by talking about January's big events and highlight the naked eye planets, and then move on to the lunar phases and encounters so you can plan ahead better than me. All right, so the very first thing in January is we're going to not talk about the planets yet because that's the main event, but there is a meteor shower from the 2nd to the 3rd, and you could go into the 4th as well. But really, you just want to take a quick look outside at any point, and I'd say definitely dedicate at least 20 to 30 minutes. That's the way I usually like to do it. But you're going to go look outside and find the Quadrantid meteor shower. Now, in really good places, this would give up to 100 meteors per hour, but it peaks right at 10 a.m., which is during the daytime, so that's not good for us. But you can always find some before and after as well. So really all you're doing is you're going to look at the entire sky and, maybe face a little bit toward the north, right? Since the radiant is in between Bootes and Draco, which will be somewhere around here. If we go a bit later into the night, there we go. There's Bootes and Draco. Right around midnight, it's rising up in the northeast. So you could take a look for that. I would recommend going out, but don't spend too much time since the peak is during the daytime for us in, United States area. So, so that is the Quadrantid meteor shower. Now, there are, I believe, 3 more big events. And the first big event is on the 13th. So here we've got sunset on January 13th at about 5 p.m. So let's fast forward just a little bit. Oh, well, here we go. First off, you see Mars and the moon right nearby each other. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to center on Mars, right? So we're going to just take a look at that as the night goes by. And what you'll notice is, well, the moon and Mars are actually going to stay pretty close together. That's where they are at the beginning of the night. But as we move forward, the moon is going to get closer and closer to Mars. Zoom in a little bit more. Let's get a little closer. Right around 9:17, at least for me, around Philadelphia area. 9:17 is when Mars is going to get just winked out of existence, well, from what we can see, and the moon is going to cover it up entirely. It'll just boop, go away. Actually, it might not be quite like a boop. It might be a little slower because Mars is a disk out there. But I would say get your telescope out and watch Mars and then watch the moon kind of take it right over. Now, the moon is going to then pass in front of Mars, and then Mars should pop back out on the other side right around 10. Ooh, there it is, 32. So at least for me, the farther north or the farther south you are, it's going to be a little bit different as far as the length of time. And then however east or west you are, that's going to determine what time this actually happens. So take a look, find a link to find out exactly what this is for your area, or find some sort of planetarium program that'll help you figure that out. But this is going to be really cool. I'm definitely going to go out and look at that, which means it will probably be cloudy in my area on the 13th. Now, let's zoom back out a bit. Mars and the moon are still up there, but 2 days later, on the 15th, Mars is at opposition, right? And so the reason it's at opposition is because, let's say this is the sun and this is Mars's orbit, okay? Actually, let's go this way. Earth is on the inside track, and so the Earth kind of passes Mars, and so this is the time when we are closest to Mars. That means it's also the biggest it's going to be in the night sky, and the brightest it's going to be in the night sky, at least for, well, until the next opposition, which is 26 months away. So this is the best time to go see Mars. Now, is this the best opposition? No, it's not. In fact, unfortunately, it's about half the size as it was back in 2018. So finding it in your scope, you'll see a small red disk. And if you're extra good, now you got to be patient with Mars, right? Because it's just a little dot, a little disk in your telescope, and you might be able to see some dark spots, or you might see the northern polar cap, which is white, but you have to have really good seeing for that to happen. And that kind of happens randomly throughout the night. So you kind of have to pay attention to that. It's a good time. Opposition, now's the best time to actually take a look at Mars, see what you can see. Now, the last thing, now we've got to sort of look at the other direction, and let's go earlier in the night. And you already see Saturn and Venus are actually getting pretty close together, right? So actually, let me go back to like 6:30-ish, and then on the 17th and the 18th, they are the closest they're going to be. I'm going to call this a conjunction. They're going to be within 2 degrees of each other. That's 2 pinkies width, or 2 pinky widths. And you should be able to find these in a telescope and be able to see both of them at the same time. Now, Venus is going to be far, far brighter, but you're still going to be able to get a good look at them. Maybe not a good picture, unless you sort of take a picture of Venus and take a picture of Saturn and sort of overlay them over top of each other. But these two set around 9 p.m., so you got to make sure you get out there between like 6 and 9 p.m. The earlier the better, because it's going to be higher in the sky and you'll have fewer things in your way. So make sure you get out there, especially around the 13th, 15th, 17th, 18th, to see lots of cool planetary things. Let's move on to the planets. All right, so what are you actually seeing in the night sky as far as planets go? Well, around sunset, I'm going to go a little bit later, around 6:30, you're going to be able to see Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. Now, Venus is going to start at sunset about 35 degrees above the horizon. This is really big for Venus, one of the highest it gets, and it's just dominating that sky. It's super bright. Just look southwest after sunset, find the brightest thing, and if you have a telescope, go look at it. It's going to be in its half phase, okay? And what that means is that if you actually use your telescope, you can see it's basically half lit, just like that. I took my son out a couple days ago to see that, and he was very impressed with it. It's pretty neat. You don't think planets do that. Then, of course, you've got Saturn. Now, what Saturn does throughout the month is it actually gets closer to Venus. Watch what happens, right? It's off in the southwest after sunset, but then it's going to pass Venus, and we just kind of talked about that. On the 17th and 18th, it's the closest, and then as you end the month, Saturn is going to be lower than Venus in the sky, okay? But even by month's end, Mars and Jupiter are basically in the same spot, right? So let me go back to January 15th. And really all you have to do to find Jupiter and Mars, they're pretty easy. Jupiter, well, first of all, wait until it gets pretty dark. And Jupiter is going to be up here nice and bright right near Taurus. So if you can find the V of Taurus in the sky, you'll be able to find Jupiter, no problem. And then if you can find those, you just sort of move a little bit down and to the left, and you should be able to find Gemini with these 2 bright stars, Castor and Pollux. And Mars is going to be off kind of below that, okay? And again, Mars will be good to see in the telescope because of opposition. Jupiter's always good. You can see the cloud bands and the moons, super easy. Maybe even find the red spot as well. Now, let's move on to the middle of the night, right? So let's go to like after midnight. Let's see here. Now you notice that Mars and Jupiter now got higher in the sky. They're really more off to the south. Saturn and Venus are disappeared. But this is the best time to see Mars and Jupiter because they're higher in the sky. It is later at night, but, you know, deal with it, I guess. And then let's talk about the morning. So this is it for late at night. Let's talk about the morning. So let's fast forward. Okay. You see they're going to go set in the west. In fact, yeah. So they'll be pretty much set in the west by sunrise, except for Mars. Okay. Mars should still be just about up around sunrise. but only really for the first half of the month. You should be able to see Mars over there. As you get later in the month, like the 30th, it actually sets by about 6 a.m., right? But the other thing you can find in the morning, you have to go back to the beginning of the month. I'm going to go to January 3rd. And at the beginning of the month, in the morning, you might just be able to catch Mercury. But that is just for the first week. As you can see, as the first week goes by, Mercury starts to dip down. Okay? So, all in all, though, what I would suggest going out to take a look is go out after sunset and really take a look at the west, where you see Venus and Saturn, and then take a look at Jupiter and Mars throughout the rest of the night. All right, now the moon, right? So it's got its phases, right? We start off with a new moon, and we've got a week of evening crescents at the beginning until the 6th. January 6th, we have the first quarter moon where the right half is lit up. Then we'll have a week of evening gibbous, and then the full moon will be on January 13th, visible the entire night and is super bright, which also coincides with the occultation of Mars. So it's a totally full moon to see that one. Then we'll have a week of waning gibbous moons, and the last quarter is on the 21st, where the left half is lit up and you can only see it after midnight. Then we'll have a week of morning crescents until another new moon on January 29th. Now, the moon does go through some close encounters. In fact, let me start here on January 3rd. Okay. If you look over here in the southwest, you're going to see Venus and the moon right nearby each other. Okay. They're right together, about 3 degrees apart. Okay. Brilliant time to see this. And Saturn's up and to the left of that. Now, on the 4th, the moon is now on the other side of Saturn, and so they make this sort of train or this lineup in the night sky. So 3rd and 4th, go out, find a good horizon, check this out. Now, you know the moon goes across the sky throughout the month. Let's see what happens. Now you see that ecliptic, that green line, and the moon on the 10th, on January 10th, the full moon, or almost full moon, gets about 5 degrees above Jupiter. So if you're having trouble finding Jupiter, the 10th is the time to take a look at it. Okay. And then, there's Mars. What do you think? What day? Let's see. There it is, the 13th. We already talked about it, the occultation. But even on the 13th, even if you're not out there between like 9:17 and 10:37, you can still see Mars really close. Then, let's see. We got one last thing. And we're going to take another look at the southwest. We're going to go to January 31st. And right here, you see another lineup. You've got the moon, Saturn, and Venus. And I'm going to break a little rule here and show you what happens during the next month, right? So the moon starts off below Saturn on the 31st. On February 1st, it is right next to Venus. And then on February 2nd, it is in a line with Venus and Saturn, but Venus and Saturn are different or switched compared to earlier in the month. Okay. And so get out there and check this out. Number one, I would say definitely go out there and check out the occultation if you can, because it should be really easy. You can't miss Mars, you can't miss the moon, and you should be able to see them wink out, or just Mars. Get a telescope for that, see what happens, and just have fun with it. Maybe check out the meteor shower if you can. But yeah, really just have a wonderful month. And if you find that this advanced notice of the night sky is helpful, please support this work by finding Last Minute Astronomer on Patreon. And don't forget to follow Last Minute Astronomer on Facebook and Instagram. So till next month, I'm the Last Minute Astronomer, wishing you fruitful plans and clear skies.
Music was produced by Deep Sky Dude and used with permission. Bye!